Hello and welcome to Creative Money, the podcast for filmmakers, media makers, TV professionals, helping people to get their work made and especially funded. My name is Joyce Mishaan. I am an executive producer from unscripted shows like 90 Day Fiancé, Chow House for the Food Network, senior producer on Chopped for many, many years, independent filmmaker, and coach for filmmakers and creative professionals. And today we have a very, very special guest, a dear friend of mine and colleague, Zaq Latino. Hi, Zaq.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Joyce. Hi.
Welcome to Creative Money.
Thanks for having me.
So Zaq is a writer, actor, artist, performing artist.
Cat mom.
Cat mom. Dog.
Yeah, dog walk. I
Professional?
still dog walk for money. Yeah, which you had somebody on your podcast who still has a safety job walking dogs. I love it.
Fair enough.
I love it.
Right?
Yeah,
Let's get
yeah.
real. Let's talk about the real life. And you're also a producer.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Zaq Latino, writer, producer, actor. I started out acting, and I'm in New York, which is not the superior city objectively, but I think so subjectively, because I wanted to do theater. I wanted to do musical theater first, and so that's my first love. And I sort of just fell into falling in love with the camera without worrying about how expensive it was to do camera stuff, which I think is maybe not like a statement as if it's always true, but I think film is sometimes more expensive than theater. And I've just been like living ever since. I've been acting in films. That's how me and Joyce actually know each other.
Yeah, so we met. You were acting in a feature that I'm producing with director Keith Miller, still in post-production. And so we had just wrapped, I think, on the set of that film when you sent me an email with a script. And
I did? Oh, okay, yeah,
do
cool.
you remember this?
I remember, well, maybe, but it's actually part of, I guess, what we're going to talk about today. I remember definitely being like, I would like to talk to you because I respect you as a producer or whatever. I'd like to talk to you about how do you possibly make something this big? But I guess I attached a script. That's bold.
I think so. Or you mentioned
Yeah.
a script.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I remember this. I want to start with this because I think it's so resonant for so many filmmakers that certainly that I work with and that I talk to who are in a similar position, which is I wrote a script. I did the work to really thoroughly workshop the script, to do rounds and rounds of notes, right, to get all the coverage. And so when you had reached out to me, you had a script that was really like far along in terms of its development. And if I remember right, something in what you said was like, what do I do now?
Yeah, I knew that it was my flagship project, which I think is really important to maybe speak to the mindset I was in at that time. Because maybe now I don't know if it's great to like completely obsess over one project, and maybe we'll get to that. But like that was like, this is my flagship, this is my career move, and maybe we should back up a little bit. Which again, not like it's a shocking thing to say based on how I look and very proudly myself. But as an actor, I think I was starting to come into my own and my identity and really owning who I am, and I sort of had this realization that I can continue to act in the closet. I can continue to be a really convincing boy. Or I could take the leap and be openly applying for gender diverse stuff and accept that less of those exist and that the competition's a little fiercer and that I might not act as much, right? And the reason I say that is because that's the reason I wrote it. It's like I wrote it for myself. I goodwill hunting to myself, not saying that they're of the same quality, but and I just knew that this was my flagship project, and so I think I had a lot of passion behind. I just know this is the next step for me. I got to use all my skills and my writing skills and my administrative skills and whatever. And I was like, this is going to be it for me. And so I think when I reached out to you in that manner, I loved this and I knew I wanted it, but I had how do you start with something that big?
Yeah.
And I think I saw it as this monolith. I saw it as this Mount Everest of I really want to get there. I want to get there. And I really believed that I don't even know if I believed that I could back then. Right. But I had the people skills to know that there are people who had the information that I didn't, who I had worked with before, right? So how could I position myself as an actor to reinvestigate those contacts again in an ulterior way?
Yeah.
Right. And so not, I think you're fantastic. I'm so thrilled to be here. You were not the only email I wrote, right? I was just like, hey, how do I I was going to say pick your brain, which don't write that in an email anymore. But that's just what came out for me.
It's a terrible brain.
It's her, and don't ask people to pick their brains. Just don't. Like, anyway, I knew that you had information I didn't. And so that was what was behind that email.
Yeah. And there's a couple things that you said that I just want to really talk through for a second, because the first is about representation, right? And it sounds like as an actor, when you're stepping into your identity more deeply and saying, okay, I want to play roles that are more representative of me. Yeah. And yet you're acknowledging that there were less of those roles out there and that they're more competitive. And so what does an actor do when they want to play roles like them, but there's not as much representation for them? Yeah. And it sounds like the path that you're choosing is really a viable path for a lot of filmmakers when we know how to get indie projects made, which is to write the role for yourself or find a writer to write that role for you. Yeah. Because it's not out there right now.
And you can wait for it forever for it to maybe not come. And not even like the socially marginalized. I think maybe that's for anybody. I think if you're, sort of any one of us could be really banging their head against the wall forever. I'm just not somebody who waits for permission to do things. I don't know. Yeah.
Amazing. So that's really important. And then, it's funny because when people talk about like, how do we create our own access? And I think that's really like the topic of this conversation, right? Like, how do you create access from where you are, right? If you're starting from a place where you haven't made a feature film before, and especially if you're finding yourself like not seeing the representation in the industry that you want and wanting to create that for yourself, where do we start? And what you said is exactly right? It's like we email everybody that we know that might be able to.
Yeah, I mean, that's your first assignment. That's one of them.
Yeah,
is like literally, because I can say that I'm an graduate. Yeah, I'm a graduate of Joyce's with the Joyful Empires method. I really she didn't even tell me to talk about it, but I am. And one of your first assignments is write down everybody who you know and 3 ways to contact them, which is paramount.
Right.
Don't just like put down, I took the subway with Larry David once. Right. Like, who are people who you actually have access to or can get that access to, and you prove that you can by putting their phone number, their email, whatever. I mean, it's really fabulous.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like write down everyone you know first, because we often are sitting there telling ourselves, well, I don't know anybody. I don't know the head of Amazon Studios, so I can't get my film made. And the truth is that everybody knows people, everybody has people in their orbit who are either a connection, right, to a next step for getting the film made, or are 1 or 2 introductions away from a connection. And so when we do that assignment and I have you write down everybody you know, it's first to like prove it to yourself. Yeah. Right. And I see the light bulb start going off. Oh, my friend's cousin does this, or my so-and-so sister-in-law, or whatever it is. And so the wheels start turning. And the contact info is also about like removing some of the resistance, right? Because it's like we can make our list, but then that's when the panic comes in of like, oh, but I can't actually reach out to these people. Like, that's too scary. Yeah. And so we like make the gap of that step a little smaller by already putting down the contact info. So it's literally just like, okay, send the email.
Yeah. You said that much more eloquently than me, but that's what I was getting at, is like once you put the contact info, it kind of becomes real. Yeah. There's some sort of like, oh, this is actually real and possible. Right. And if you don't mind, I would like to just like, this is a point I tell other people that I work with, talk to, whatever, is the adage of it's all about who you know. And I don't know if it's all about who you know, but it's obviously very important, right? It's obviously incredibly important. And I think people's pushback to that is like, oh, I don't know Steven Spielberg, and so I'm just never going to get anywhere. Right. My mommy's not Uma Thurman, and I'm just never going to get anywhere. Sorry, Maya Hawke, you're fine. You're great. Yeah, I love you. But anyway, I think the real lesson is who are, like if you look at my resume, I could talk you through how I got the next job from the first one.
Same.
Like, right? Like I knew this person who had read my work before and reached back out, and we did something together. Or even as an actor, like this one director I worked with had an opening, even if it was a smaller role, whatever. And I was like, yeah, of course I want to do something with you again, you know?
Right.
And it's just really building these connections and massaging them like over time and just checking in with them and seeing how they are as people
Yeah.
and really caring about people. And people remember you, you know, and they come back to you and they're like, oh, Zach really cares about me, you know, and
Yeah.
Zach is nice to work with, whatever. And I don't know if we really have that as much of a part of the conversation as like Nepo baby. I think it's where our brains go.
Right.
But I've always taken it as like respect the people who you with, who you
Yeah.
work with, excuse me, and take those contacts seriously.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because there can be a lot of shame around that out of like actually using your contacts, especially if they're family contacts or whatever it is. But the truth is, as a filmmaker, and this is true as a producer 100%, like your relationships are your business. Like that's your
Yeah.
whole job, is to build and maintain solid relationships and to communicate, right? And to navigate the communication skills. But you invested so much in those relationships, right? Like
Yeah.
what you're saying is true of my career too. Like every job that I got in TV was from the people that I worked with on the previous project, and really only if we clicked, right? Like only if we liked working together, only if it was a good experience. The ones that weren't a good experience for whatever reason, either I didn't like them or they didn't like me, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Those just didn't lead to more jobs, and that's
Sure.
fine, right? Those are not my people.
Yeah.
But it's such an important preliminary first step, also because you're usually your first money in, and we can talk about this a little bit, comes from somebody in your warm network, right? It's usually a personal champion of some kind that believes in you, wants to see you succeed, is excited that you're taking this next leap in your career, or somehow knows you, or at least knows of you, versus that cold outreach that you might do a little bit further down the line of the fundraising journey.
And and I think the colder you get, the more proof you need that
Yeah.
other people have already joined.
Totally.
Yeah, I was, 'cause you don't have to agree, but it seems like you do.
Yeah, I
That
do.
like if I'm cold emailing Blumhouse, I don't think they care unless I'm like, oh, you're my final 100 or something.
Yeah.
You know, I think you need proof of network first. You know, the colder and colder you get.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I call it proof of life, right? It's
Oh,
like
I like
that
that.
traction,
Yeah.
showing that you have that traction.
For sure.
I think I learned that. Maybe Matt Morris taught me that. I don't remember.
Proof of life, yeah.
But proof of life. And so let's talk about that. So after we worked together for really a very short amount of time, I do want to talk just a little bit about the mindset shift. And I think we can talk about like once we did a little bit of mindset work, right?
Yeah.
Mindset work being tackling beliefs and any baggage and anything that's kind of like hanging around in your mindset that might be holding you back from taking action. Once we did that work, what changed for you?
I mean, I'm going to say everything, but I'm going to back up and give you more details. My main thing coming to you was like, I didn't know how to function in those rooms. I didn't know what to say. I actually was okay with my skill set of getting in them potentially, but I was like, what do I do? How do I prove that I know what I'm doing? And I think I had not necessarily like imposter syndrome of like I didn't feel like I deserved to be there, but it was like, how do these people who have this career and all this knowledge and experience, how do I even talk to them, you know, as my first little baby screenplay? So that was one of the first things we talked about, and really just reframed, I think, how I valued myself in those spaces, as well as like really meditating on past events in my life that made me think that certain way about myself. And I was able to sincerely come out of it, like with less shame about my personal life and my personal self, that then impacted all the work that I had done afterwards. You know, like just really seeing my value in those spaces and really believing that I was the right person to tell this story. And I don't know if I went into our work together knowing that. Right? It was like I wanted to do this, and you know, I mentioned the Everest and stuff, and I knew that this was the path forward, but I don't know if I really like stood in, yes, this is only going to happen with me because it should. Right? Like I'm the person to do this. And I think I came out of that mindset shift knowing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We can also talk about money shame. I mean, there was a lot of my my deepest fear inventories were about like only greedy people ask for money.
It's such a common one, especially among artists, right? It's like we have this like fear of selling out, and so it's like either I sell out or I make art.
Yeah.
But the two somehow can't coexist. And it's baggage that we picked up somewhere along the way in our upbringing and our culture, right? There's all different ways that we develop these kinds of limiting beliefs. And you're right? It affects how much money we think we could ever possibly raise for a film, or how much we deserve, or there's an ickiness around the ask.
Yeah.
And what I love about your process was that you ended up getting an offer, right? Your script got picked up pretty quickly, and we can talk about that. And then you decided to go a different route and go the crowdfunding route. And I would love to hear, because I think it's so helpful for people to see, like, one, that there's these different paths for how once you start making those asks and you do start getting the emails out and making connections, that things start to happen.
Yeah.
And how crowdfunding ended up being the right first step for you.
Yeah. I'm going to say something that nobody else will say. I love crowdfunding.
That's crazy.
I think it's fun. And let me tell you why it's fun. It's because I love the confirmation that these people who you had a relationship with in your life somewhere still know you, care about you, and love you. Right? Like, we're not even talking about film and money. We're talking about like these relationships still exist, and you made an impact on their life enough for them to respond, in some manner. And some of them did give me money. Actually, like, I think we made a really substantial amount of people I worked with at Chick-fil-A 15 years ago. And it's right off the point that you made, is that people want to help you. Right. People see this incredible thing that you're doing, and that's not me being lofty about what I'm doing. It's like, making movies is cool, and people show up for you. I mean, like, there is a methodology, right? And I coached with Justin Giddings, who's really just amazing. A genius, and we actually work together now, and really, really fantastic. So that relationship's really important to me. But that whole it's just really heartwarming to know that these people are there for you, and that's why I think I like it. Yeah. Is I like the people showing up, and the people who comment, because Kickstarter you can comment now, and just people who really are keeping up with it. So you mentioned me getting like picked up, and I won't mention them by name because it's not productive, but we just had a studio with whom we didn't maybe see eye to eye. Right. Creatively, or more like socially maybe. Yeah. And I say that with like full knowledge that like sometimes, a studio, when they will pick up your script in that studio system, they will make changes, right? They're going to buy it and they're going to make changes, and you're going to accept those changes and get it made, or you're going to stand on your laurels and maybe walk away, right? And the particular social changes that were recommended maybe just were the exact opposite of what I try to do, right? Like, I really like to function in authenticity, and I think that systems are dismantled intentionally, and that's just the way I move. And so when something really comes in contrast to that, it's hard to just be like, oh yeah, that's a creative change I can live with. So we left, and I was like, well, what do we do now? I'm an indie filmmaker who just walked away from my option. What am I doing? And we decided to crowdfund. Now you can look it up. Welwitchiafilm.com still exists. WELWITCHIA film.com. We'll take you to the Kickstarter that still exists. And we chose a very strategic amount. It's like, we only raised $31,000, which is not to make a feature. And we cite it in our minds, and it says on the page that these are development funds, right? These are like the really imperative development funds to maybe make a proof of concept, to shop it around, to get further script analysis, to pay the people who did the kickstarting, like all of that stuff is like really imperative to getting a film off the ground. Because I don't know if I ever intended to like make it myself from zero. Right. And that's just maybe where I was coming at it from. But it did make it a much more realistic number. When we're talking about those development funds, right, it's so much about leverage. It's like, sometimes we need a little bit of money to make a lot more money, right? And so that leverage can be about hiring a casting director, right, to get certain talent attached. Or it could be, maybe you need to hire a line producer to really like build out a full budget. Maybe you need to run some kind of a social media campaign to build some buzz around the project. There's like all different things that we could do with that startup money to leverage it into the next thing. And like you said, those
next conversations that you're going to have that are maybe outside of your warm network are really, we really have to be able to show traction for the project. And so we want to take that development money and create traction for the project using that. And you were able to do that, one, with the Kickstarter by proving there's a community around this film, right? That there's an audience for this film.
Yeah.
Two, in really getting a notable executive producer on board that helped to bring visibility to the project and also credibility to the project.
Yeah.
And then to really strategically build your team from there. And so I'd love for you to talk about what that allowed you to do going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of my 3 tenets is to surround yourself with people who have the skills that you don't. And I don't really know where that entered my brain. I don't know who taught me that. But I got Casty Severo as my director, who's like attached to this project. Whatever happens to it, like he's just proven himself time and time again that this is the soul match for this film. And he was one of my first attachments. Was like, I think before we were working together, like in October, November that year, I just went on IMDb Pro and was like just scouring for really specific directors in this niche that I knew this person had to be representative of, right? And I found somebody, you know, and because I was realistic about the people in my echelon, my social hierarchy, whatever, a lot of those people had their contact information on IMDb Pro.
Yeah.
Right. So I wasn't looking for people with agents. I was looking for a soul match. And I think that's so important when you're attaching people in the indie world, particularly, right? Is like you want them to really be a match for the project, you know, mind, body, and soul.
Absolutely.
Instead of. Well, you're going to add the clout later because we're going to get to my EP attachment, right? But you want to say something first?
Also, the thing I wanted to say is like how simple that is. It's like you got an IMDb Pro account. You search for a director that was aligned with the vision of the film and the mission of the film and the soul of the film, right?
Yeah.
And you reached out, right? So again, no previous connections except that you went on IMDb and got an IMDb Pro account. So even if you're starting, and I'm going to say this right to the lens, right? Like if you're starting
I'll look at mine, sorry.
If you're starting from zero and you don't have the connections and you don't know anybody in the industry, simply doing that kind of research and outreach, that cold outreach, can really make a difference and can start to attach people to the project that then give it that traction, that proof of life. Your team starts to build, and then people start to take the project more seriously.
Yeah, for sure. And those people help you with your assets, and they help you with all your deliverables, like your deck and all, you know, all that stuff. You now have a director's bio in there,
right?
As opposed to I'm Joe sending my screenplay. Sorry, Joe. I'm sure your screenplay is great. But that led me to Jeffrey Marsh as my executive producer, right? Who again, that was just like I just went on their website and found out that they had a hello@jeffreymarsh.com email.
That's amazing.
And I think I don't, you know, I wish I had it. You know, it's in there somewhere. But like whatever the subject was, I was like, you know, seeking executive producer or whatever. They responded that they were potentially interested, but they wanted to read it, which is very smart of them. And I guess the material was worth responding to because I got a response in 3 days.
Yeah.
That they were like, yeah, let's do this. And then they called me and I panicked and I was like, I wasn't expecting that in 2024, a phone call, whatever. But I think this really illustrates it in real time.
Yeah.
Is like I went from solo to director above me, who Casty had some great Canadian credits, but is not a household name. And he would say that too. To like social media, you know, 1.2 million followers and 3 billion views. Like we sort of climbed that traction, right? To the point where like Rosie O'Donnell has read Bloom Cycle. She didn't want it, but she's read it, you know, and I wouldn't have done that by myself.
Yeah.
You know,
that trajectory is so important because you created each of those opportunities first by like getting through the stuff that was stopping you from doing that outreach, right?
Yeah.
So that's like the mindset work. And then step by step, cold emailing, right?
Yeah.
Really creating your own access from scratch by reaching out and following the thread of connection around the story, right? Who's passionate about this story? Who's passionate about this subject matter? Who's going to resonate with this? And then you find your people, right? So not just like any person who has a name who's going to help get your script like shot and made, but who's really the right fit for this project because they're passionate about it and care about it and are aligned with it. And then things really start to move.
Yeah.
And then it ends up in the hands of Rosie O'Donnell.
Well, because those people know it too. Like those people know that you've put in the research and that it's a project that is aligned with what they've been doing.
Yeah.
And so then I think the chance of a response just goes up exponentially.
Yeah.
Like if you're just emailing famous people who can do the grunt work for you, who are not necessarily like aligned
Right.
in that sort of a cosmic way, I think you're just sort of barking up, taller trees.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think that's so important. It's like when we're pitching, we're always looking for the angle, right? It's like, first, who am I pitching to? What do they want, right? What's their interest in this? And I have to know that, otherwise it's not going anywhere, right? And then where's the real connection here? Like, is there really alignment? Does this align with what they want to do? Does this align with their mission and the types of projects that they're putting out there or want to put out there? And when those things meet, when we find that alignment, again, that's what has things move forward, and that's what could get the attention of somebody even that is maybe well known in the industry, right? And has been waiting for something like this to land on their desk.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so let's just break down like the essentials if you're going to create your own access in the industry, right?
Yeah.
Starting from, I don't believe I have any connections, to I want to get this in the hands of somebody who can really move the project forward.
Yeah.
What would you say is like the essential things that you need to know?
I would really start like where I don't think most people start necessarily, which is like making sure that your materials are as good as you think they are. Right. I think we read our own work and we're like, oh my God, this is fantastic. I mean, not me, but like some people do. But then you'll spend years and years trying to sell a subpar product. And then you're like wondering why it's not working out. Right. So Bloom Cycle right now is in draft 12. Right. And in order to get there, I had beta readers like in my network or people in my creative network. I also paid for like professional editors on SureScript to give me like the break, not sponsored, to get me like the breakdowns, so that I knew what needed to be fixed. I think attaching Cassidy as a director was imperative because he and I wrote the ending together, like all of the stuff of like making sure that the materials are really where they need to be, which also goes into the deck. Right, which goes into all these things, and the development money for the Kickstarter ended up being used for the proof of concept. Right, there's just something to be said about making sure that other eyes have been on your materials before you're sending them out to the people that are actually going to give you money. Right. Another thing is maybe just like a mindset shift again of like people are really busy and they're probably not responding to you because they hate you.
It's so important, right? He,
Yeah.
The director of the movie that we're producing together, used to say this to me. He was my teacher at NYU, and he said, "Don't read into silence."
Not at all.
Like what we do in the silence is we make up the worst story about why somebody's not responding. That usually speaks to just our own deep insecurities.
Yeah.
And so, don't read into silence. That's such a great reminder.
Yeah. No, I mean, I have a rule. It's a little like. To the point is like I don't get ghosted by adults, and I just don't. Like if you don't want to work with me, just tell me.
Yeah.
And I just don't accept ghosting, and I will always follow up with you, right? And so like if you've left me hanging for 2 weeks or so, I'm not afraid to just be like, hey, I'm just putting this on the top of your inbox.
Yeah.
Right. Because I know how crowded it probably is.
Right.
As somebody who's as busy as you, so it doesn't have to be a response that talks down to them either. Like, hey, following up. It's like, I know you're busy. Just reminding you that I'm here.
Right.
100%. I had somebody who's like our consulting producer on this project, who's fantastic and would not be mad at me saying this, who like didn't respond to me for like 6 weeks. And I was like,
before they were on or after they were on?
No, she's on and she's like hanging out. And I was like, hey. And she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I thought I responded or this got lost in my inbox. Right. Like people that love you, email, we are so oversaturated that it's almost comical to take it personally.
Yeah.
Like I think we're just spread so thin,
100%.
Yeah.
Also, I learned this from Chris Voss's amazing book, Never Split the Difference.
Which you had me read.
Which I made you read, right. Yeah. Which is if you're not getting that response, right, to just send the one line, hey, so-and-so, are you no longer interested in this project?
Yeah.
Or are you no longer interested in having a conversation about this?
Yeah.
Immediate response.
Immediate. Well, I'm happy you said it this way because I think it goes back into your proof of life.
Yeah.
Into you're reaffirming the momentum.
Right.
By saying, hey, this train doesn't depend on you.
Right.
I'm the conductor and I would love to offer you a spot. But
it's
she's leaving.
Moving, yeah.
She's leaving. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And taking each next step is so key. Like not letting, even with your experience with that first option, like if you had been like, oh, we tried, it didn't work, right? Then you wouldn't have taken that next step.
So I do something for this film every day.
That's amazing.
And it's a little wild. It's like a writer who writes 2,000 words every day and sticks to it.
Yeah.
Even if it's making an edit on the proof, or if I only have the energy someday to send one email.
That's great.
Like I do something every day, and my movie's still not made yet. And so not talking down to anybody else, but it's like if you're not also doing something every day, I can't even imagine. We know how you expect to get the momentum going, right?
My goodness,
it just takes that.
Right. First movie took us 10 years.
Yeah.
And there were times when we were not doing anything for many days.
Well, and you're also catching me on like, maybe I should entertain some other projects in my life and come back to this. So that's also an honest place where I am. But it's totally true that as of today, I have done something for this every day for 3 years.
The context of like, even if it's just one email, right? Like those emails are creating traction and they are actually leading to developments in the process. And so if that's all you could do, if you're working like full-time job and you're busy and all the things, right? That one email can really make that difference.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Zach. It was such a pleasure to have you on Creative Money. Please, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments. I read all of the comments and I will answer your questions, and you can always reach out to me as well. That's it. I'll see you in the next one.